It was good. I'm Isaac Lee, and we back reviewing episode 7 and the finale of Invincible. So let's get straight into it. So episode 7, that's when we really find out, yeah, Nolan's a psychopath. So so Debbie at this point, she knows full on what Nolan's is all about and the fact that he's killed the Guardians and he's still trying to like BS his way through it, but she's not trying to hear it. So of course he ends up going full-fledged, just off the rails, just doing his own thing, because he's at this point where he's just sick of trying to play up this whole human life. He's really going back to what really makes him him. And what I mean by that is the fact that he's all about Viltrum and taking over the planet. So we see Debbie going back to the Pentagon with Cecil because she's like, oh yeah, get Debbie so we can kind of like protect her here. And at the same time, they're telling the Guardians to not intervene or anything like that. And they're wondering why, because they're watching on the screen and they're thinking, okay, what's really going on? They see all this destruction having to do with Omni-Man. They're talking about how, oh, you're the last defense against Omni-Man. And to them, they're like, wait a minute, what do you mean against Omni-Man? And I mean, he's gone so far off the rails and trying to do his own thing. And of course, he's looking for his son, Mark, who's invincible. And in doing that and trying to take him out, they're shooting all these missiles at him. They bring back an old monster that he defeated like some time ago that's like even stronger now. I guess they like kind of like souped him up a little bit to kind of like fight him off again. But you know, ultimately him and Invincible, you know, they do kind of like fight each other. And at this point in time, they're thinking, okay, well, Invincible's thinking, okay, oh, you must be mind controlled and things like that. And that's when Nolan's telling him that, no, I'm not mind controlled. It's like, it's time for you to really understand our people. It's like, and I have to tell you the truth about it. And I knew what the truth was when he first told them the story about, oh, we just go to different planets just to be all basically altruistic and just help out different planets and things like that. I was like, I knew it. I think it was was it episode 1 or episode 2 where he actually breaks down this story, and I knew it had to be more to it. When he tells him that, no, actually our planet, you know, we had to weed out the weak. And basically they had this huge battle royale, where everyone's killing each other. They end up with the strongest of the strong, and each person pretty much just goes off to find a different planet. And that's how Nolan gets to Earth. And he's saying that, no, for the sake of our people, you gotta understand who you are. You're far more Viltrumite than you are human. So he basically trying to tell him like, no, your real training starts now. It's like, these people, they mean nothing. You will live for thousands of years. And it's like he doesn't even care. It's like the carnage and the way he displays his brutality. I mean, he has a full-on brawl with his own son, just beating him like literally half to death. There's one scene where they're at a subway and he just holds his head straight in front of a train and says, oh, you want to risk your life for these people? And then he just holds his head like towards the train as it's coming right toward him. And then as his head is going through it, he sees all the people dying in this train wreck. There's even a point in time where he knocks him so hard he comes all the way to Chicago. Interesting how they name drop Chicago, but he hits Invincible so hard that he goes flying all the way to Chicago. A building is about to fall. He's trying to save a mother and child, but of course they both end up getting killed. And it's like, wow, like the fact that like this is his father and he never thought he would ever see him like this. It's like the man he's known his whole life. And what's interesting is how he just says things in such a matter of fact way. The fact that he just has no care. He's like, they're insects. He's saying that he tells Invincible, even like your own mother, it's like, I love her, but she's really just more of a pet to me. And I was like, wow. So it gets to a point where he's just beating him half to death. And he's like, why are you making me do this? Why are you making me do this? Like, after 500 years, what are you gonna have? And he's like, I'll still have you. And it was funny how, as strong as he is, he was able to pull on some heartstrings. And he's like, ah. And ultimately, he just ends up flying away. And they didn't really know where he was going to. And it was just curious to see that, you know, I'm curious to see what the aftermath of this is, because we find out that the show does get renewed for not just a second season, but for a third season. So I'm curious to see if there's going to be any like PTSD as far as with Debbie, as far as with Mark Grayson. I'm curious what's going to be the aftermath of the world as far as how they look at Omni-Man now. They have so much hope. You know, like this is like their Superman. So I'm curious how they're gonna look at him now. I'm curious what they're gonna do with that little blood sample they had of Invincible. Remember, I think it was in episode 5 or so when he almost got killed by Battle Beast. When he almost got killed and they took that blood sample of him, I was like, okay, you already saw what they did with Robot with the whole taking blood samples and then kind of like creating another human, and then you also saw that with the Mauler twins. So I'm curious, I'm like, okay, if Mark doesn't come back as Invincible to be like the world's hero the same in the way that Omni-Man was, are they going to create another are they going to create like another version of Omni-Man to kind of replace Invincible, like just in case that he doesn't come back to play that role? So that's another interesting thing, and I'm really curious because again, I'm coming from someone who doesn't know anything about the comics, so I'm going into this brand new and I'm loving everything I'm seeing about it. I'm really interested to see how far they can go, because the first season was so good that for Amazon to have that much faith to renew them for a second and third, it's like, where do you go from here? And I'm hoping they have more material, because I can't stress this enough that I don't know that much or anything for that matter about the source material of Invincible. But I tell you one thing, you can do things in animated form that you just cannot do in live action, and I really appreciate the fact that we got this in animated form. Hats off to J.K. Simmons. He is that man can do no wrong. Like his Omni-Man, his Nolan is so spot on. It's so spot on. That man can do no wrong. He just has like he knows what to pick as far as what roles, whether it's live action, whether it's animated. He just knows how to pick them. And I also want to touch on Cecil, you know, because I've talked about how he's kind of like this the Nick Fury of it, but he even shows more of a human side here too. However, I do want to point out that fact that I do like that scene where Cecil shows Mark Grace in this particular room that at first is all white, then he just says, okay, lights, and then you see all this like this work going on, and then you see that they're also putting together the Immortal. They're putting him back together and then he's like, okay, enough of that lights. He's like, wait a minute, what was that? He's like, well, you know all that tap water you love to drink that's so convenient? Yeah, we laced it with a chemical so that it prohibits you from seeing certain frequencies of light. So now basically nobody in the country can see this room. He's like, yeah, you'd be amazed how many people how many times we use that. And I was like, I can see a lot of conspiracy theorists talking about that. I can easily see some conspiracy theorists talking about that, about staying away from the tap water, because I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see what they do for season 2 and season 3. Who knows? It might go beyond that. But at the end of the day, those are just my thoughts. But what are yours? And if you like what I had to offer, hit that like and subscribe at the bottom. I'm Isaac Lee. This is The Rundown.